There aren't many people from Trinidad and Tobago who have gone to the Olympic twice. So that in itself is a substantial achievement. And so she's our first guest, and thank you again for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so my first question, I'll get the ball rolling, is what made you get into swimming?
Well, my sister, Chanel, she used to swim, she started swimming with the primary school program we had. We went to St. Teresa's Girls RC, and they started a swim program at Benny's Swim World, which was in Queen's Park Hotel, which is now where TGI Friday is, and they have the parking lot. There was a swimming pool there, and we used to go there during the swim program. But before that, in nursery school, there was the YMCA off Ryson Road there. I think I nearly drowned when we went. I was 3, and I climbed on top of one of my classmates to try and get to safety per se. And since there into primary school, kind of fell in love with the sport.
Okay, very interesting. So why swimming over other sports, that more popular sports in Trinidad, like football, cricket, netball, and so on?
Well, actually, I had options. My mom, may she rest in peace, she actually gave us the options, whether it was track and field, tennis, or swimming. But I love the water, and also I liked to race. So that was an easy choice.
Okay, great. So a question I have here, a lot of people, to make one Olympics is quite an achievement. After you made your first Olympics, what made you want to go back through another 4 years of such discipline and structure and sacrifice and dedication? What made you want to go back again to try for a second Olympics?
Well, the first experience was a novelty one, and I was really happy that, to actually make it to where Olympics started in Greece, Athens, Greece. That city is beautiful, and I wanted to see how much more I could improve, and also, as you say, the structure, the discipline, and the routine. I love that, because I remember in 2000 Olympics, I was watching it. I watched Amanda Baird when she came out with a big teddy bear at 14, and I was saying that, yeah, I want to go to the next Olympics, but it's just insane, not necessarily, believing that next 4 years I will probably be a contender. So it was just a goal there, but I just enjoyed racing, and every opportunity I got to race, it just got me closer to getting the goal. And to looking forward to the next 4 years. 4 years did not seem long. It just was a next step towards in my swimming career. Let's see.
And why did you decide to retire after? What made you want to retire after the Olympics, the second Olympics?
I actually did not retire after the second Olympics because I was still in college, University of South Carolina. So I still had, and after 2008, I still had 2 more years before I graduated, and afterwards, in 2010, I really wasn't sure what I was going to be doing, whether it was going to work, now have my life after the sport, or if it was going to be, continuing. But I actually did continue. After I graduated in 2010, I came back home because I always intended to come back home. Most of my peers and my age group with the sport, they stayed in wherever respective the U.S. and whatnot. They built a home there. But I always intended to come back home because my family is here, and I love Trinidad. One reason is that America didn't have enough holidays for me. and also it's a lot easier to move around, and I mean, 2 seasons, rain and sun, so that's kind of influenced me there. But I actually tried in 2012 for my 3rd Olympics, but I fell short, and that's when I kind of turned over to, go into another route.
Great. What was it like after you moved back to Trinidad, out of the college system? Because a lot of athletes, when they leave the college system and their scholarships are up, they enter in the real world. You know, what was it like um, finishing university, and what do you think Trinidad and Tobago can do to support our athletes who graduate from college and want to continue to try for a third Olympics, for example?
Wow, that's a a heavy question, but um, I think we should have a transition program from, or before that, if there is a way that we could put out like a career fair kind of thing for athletes in terms of what they can do when it is they do or before they go to college actually, what areas in the in the sport industry that we have gaps in, so that when it is they looking to go away to college, once they know they love this, continue to love the sport and want to continue to help develop our sport in our country and get us out there, you can look at what career options are there for within sport that they can do, whether it's sports science, sports management, and business management, that they can come back here and help and assist the athletes that are up and coming and they're looking for a way that they can, as you say, give back. If you can have a program set up that can do that, or even persons who have, go on that path and did student athletes and go away to study, what avenues we have that, they can come back and assist in that way.
Thank you. So what are you up to these days?
Coaching. I also work full-time as an auditor, and more or less kind of just enjoying life after swimming.
That's an interesting statement. You say you're coaching and you're working full-time. In many countries, coaching is a full-time profession. So talk a bit about what do you think can be done so that people like yourself can become full-time coaches and make a proper living, because people like yourself have so much to give back to the youth, the adults. What do you think can be done differently to allow persons like yourself who are in coaching to actually have it as a full-time profession?
That's a good question again. I think in terms of how I should say, sport as an industry is not looked at as, I should say, a business. I don't think, and from coming out from the pandemic, I realized how little sport is viewed, I guess, nationwide. It's not viewed as something that is that they can make a career out of, and I've said sport, but as just coaching as well, that I don't think that we are looked at as making an impact on the development for society, the development of the kids, and how we contribute towards society. And I think that needs to be addressed. I think it's lack of education, lack of communication between the parties that need. To me, I would say, if we were to different areas or sectors that where sport would be an integral part of growth for the country, it would be, we have to come together with, I would say, education, because the education system, I think, is a bit of a secluded aspect of this country. They just look at education as just academics, but I think education is holistic. Sport education, physical education, and in terms of the contribution, what sport can have on the country, it is great, because what it does, when I went away to college, I was a student athlete. So both went hand in hand. And I think if we can merge the two, where sport is just as important as education, or right now I think that education is put on, the academic aspect of it is put on a very high level. And at times when the kids, as part of their development, if they start off doing sports, they do it they start off at a young age, and then they cut the sport at a young age as well, just before they do SA. And now I see that they're starting the cutting off of like extracurricular activities from as young as standard 2, going all the way up. And then, to me, I think having sport, it gives the individual, it gives the child a greater scope in terms of adding to their development as a human being, as a person towards society.
That's very interesting. I'm glad you spoke about the importance of that. So, what life lessons has swimming taught you that has helped you in your professional and personal career? Because I fully agree that sports is integral and teaches lots of skills. But you, in particular, being an Olympian, less than 1% of the population of people are Olympians. What skills and life lessons has swimming taught you that you carry through to this day in your career, professionally and personally?
That's a good question. For one, discipline. It has taught me with regards to how I have my schedules, how I set up schedules, and how I prioritize. So because of how and I would specify with sport, I would specify swimming especially. It's time consuming. It's one that, time management is of the essence, because the training schedule for a swimmer, the regimen is real tough and strict because of getting up anymore. You train before your day starts. You train just before your evening ends, your day ends. And that started from when I was in Trinidad and all the way out to college, as swimming was one of the sports that when it is you are in college and you have the other sports, we getting up before most of the other sports. We training from Monday to Saturday, and our season is long because you have in terms of like in university, the season starts off from October, goes all the way to March, and then you have the long course season that goes until, depending on where your meets and competition is at, it goes all the way to August. And with regards to that, time management is a big how I should say, addition to my me as an individual, and how it is I schedule whatever plans, whatever activities that I want to. Swimming has taught me that. It has taught me resilience, where if it is when it is if something doesn't work now, or if something happens and I have a setback, it's not the end of the road. It's not, that's it, like I full stop there. No, you look for the next option, you look for the next available opportunity, or you look for where you're going to make it happen at another time, or how are you going to figure out to make it happen? Because when it is when you're doing sets, like training sets, I mean, it makes you wonder, like, what are my life choices? What am I doing here? What is this kind of training? What set this coach giving me? And then when you finish that set, they come with another harder one. It's like, this person for real? Like, no. And then you have to find a way how you're going to complete that set. So it's resilience. It's not just where, that one set beats you down and then your coach expects you to come and do another set on top of that. And it's like, you really expect me to go and do this now? And when they say yes, then you have to find a way to dig deep and get it done. So it taught me resilience, that, when it is you feel that you are defeated, it feel that you've been broken down, you still have another way, another opportunity to get it done. And that's, in life, I think that is definitely across the board, because life always finds different things in life that's going to give you setbacks. And through the sport, and developing my mentality that, okay, this is a setback, but it's not the end of the road.
Very interesting. Okay, I just want to open the floor to a couple of questions to interrupt. So does anybody have any questions from the audience?
So I'm at Octuberoso. You probably know me. Um, what events did you do, and how much distance did you do per week?
Wow. My specialty was the 50-meter freestyle, and the there are different. There were different sets that to go back. Um, when I was training, because when I started competitive swimming at 11 to 12, like my last year, 11 to 12. Um, the mileage for me, I swam the 50-meter freestyle, which was the shortest distance, and I would have training sets where I do in a 4,000 straight in short course. Um, that was one of my memorable ones. I remember when I did in college, and I went to college late. I would say late because I was 21. Um, I remember we did a set for 700s IM, short course, and I was just like, IM, really. And but at the same time, it was like I looked at it as it was fun. It's 20. It was by 25s, so I didn't kind of how I should say. I didn't let it, break me down or kind of demotivate me. I remember when it is. And they did an experiment where a quote, like they did us put our top times, each group. So we were split in distance, middle distance, sprint, and we had super sprint. And I was in the super sprint group. And there was this scientist, he was actually plugging in different, I would say, different aspects of the racing, different metrics he put in, and that would come out like in a system, and it will throw out like what training sets to give in order to get the accomplishment that or the goal, the target time that you wanted for that group. And there were where we had for warm up, just warm up alone, 4 1700s, a 1700 freestyle, a 1700 pull, and a 1700 backstroke. And this is short course meters. So with the 1700 meters, we are warming up. So what would be the main set? I don't know. So I was like, oh, you sure about this? And my coach said, yeah, we're going that time. And then we did 2100s. And in the 2100s, now I'm not a fan of the non-breeders. No breeder, 25s, or 50, anything longer than 25 meters, no breeder, count me out. And we had 2100s. So you start off the first 100, you had 4 breaths total. Second 100, 3, you go down 2, and then you go down 1. That, I was like, y'all want us to collapse at the end? Because a whole 100, no breather. And he was like, yeah, we're going to do that. No, I did not make it to the 0 or the 1. I probably made it to 3, 3 breaths per 100. But it didn't kill me. I didn't die because I'm still here. So, it's some of the far-fetched sets were crazy, even for just a sprinter, as I would be termed in the swimming world. And I also did the 100-meter butterfly and the 100-meter freestyle to an extent.
Yeah. So my name is Marlon Moses. So I have like 3 questions. The first one is what college you went to, and what kept you motivated for all the years in the college, and why you chose that college.
Okay, so I went to University of South Carolina. That's in Columbia, South Carolina, in the United States. Now, in terms of as a swimmer looking for college, and that's where I think CB, I think we need how I should say, we should get together and form and help, because we have a lot of student athletes who are still across, past swimmers who are across there and some who are here, that we need to find a way to help these athletes, when they look into college, what they can do what they need to do to search for the particular college that they want to go to and to further their education as well as their athletic aspect of it. So I went to University of South Carolina, and the way I went about doing that, I sent my times out to different colleges. I just started sending out my best times to different various colleges, and whichever college coach, they responded to me, and then wherever they showed interest in. Now, I was not very aware. I had assistance from Linda McEachran. She is a past swimmer and also one of my rivals, but we're really good friends out of the water. In the water is a different story. But she assisted me and gave me some guidance into how she went about getting a scholarship. So I went to University of South Carolina because what they offered me a better scholarship. So you have the option where you can, in your academics, you have the SATs. I still think they have that here. You have the SATs, and also you have whatever your best time is once it's competitive with regards to in the global scale and how you can contribute to that college program. They will offer you a scholarship as to how they would want you as an asset on their team and how you will contribute to their team. So it was between University of South Carolina and Texas A&M University because they offered me the better scholarships. But because Texas A&M, I find it was a little bit far for me, and the campus itself was secluded. I chose University of South Carolina. Also, I knew a few athletes that were there too. There was Akila Malone, she was a footballer. McCann Hislop, a footballer as well. There was Jamil James, he was in track and field. And there was also Heather Ruffy. She was a 200 flyer in Cayman Islands. She was in the program at the University of South Carolina. So that gave me, familiarity. It assisted me. And also the program that they offered there at the university, they had their business program was one of the top 3 in the country. So I think that what also assisted me, where it could have merged, because I wanted to do accounting in my degree. So I did their business program was good, as well as their swim program, was a Division 1 program, and in one of the Southeastern Conference, which was one of the top conferences in the U.S. So those 2 things kind of made me select that school, as opposed for some of the other colleges and other offers that I had. What's the third question? Okay.
The third question was, what kept you motivated for all the years of college? You hear?
Okay. Yeah. Definitely definitely my passion for swimming. There was nothing else but swimming to me, and I could have merged the 2, swimming and education. And then the team atmosphere, the environment there, it's really, how I could explain it, it's different. It's like everyone cheering you on, and even at times in training, it could feel like where everyone is on the same page, have the same goal, because you're working towards, topping the SEC conference, and, you're training with some of, not training, but you're competing against in the other schools, some Olympians, some of them who have gone on to be world record holders and whatnot. So, and within the college atmosphere, that program, they want you to excel both academically and athletically. So that definitely kept me going every time.
Hello, I'm Michael Nyako, one of the coaches with TNT Aquatics. I coach master swimmers, and a lot of people involved in doing triathlon, swimming for triathlon and distance swimming. And a lot of these people, they began athletics at a later time. What my question is, what strategies, tangible strategies do you have when those sets get harder, right? To give to an athlete who doesn't have that background and has developed this toughness, right? Are there any tangible strategies that someone can use, like, to get through the set?
Okay. First one, why are you doing it? So you write down goals. What is your goal? What is your reason in one, starting off, and two, what do you want to accomplish at the end of the event, or at the end of the competition, or at the end of what you have started? You put down your goal, the reason why you want to be doing what you're doing. And when it is that set gets tough, before you leave to reach to practice, look at that reason. Look at it as to why it is you're doing it. And I've learned during the time when you're in there and you feel like giving up, self-talk. Encouraging yourself to continue, encouraging yourself to, just take it one at a time. Because once you look at it as a big scope, it gets overwhelming. So when you look at it as a here and now, it helps you to just take it one step at a time. And then you realize that you reach to the end of the practice session or the end of the set, and you come out better for it in that aspect.
Thank you, Sharntelle. I was going to jump with a couple of questions of my own. So, what, do you believe being from a small country like Trinidad and Tobago, made it a more difficult path for you to reach the Olympic level? Do you believe that, what did it take, and do you believe that you had to do anything different that, let's say, from somebody from a United States or Australia and so on, their path to the Olympics would take?
Yeah, because I think in terms of the other the countries you call the US and Australia, I would say heavily invested in sport, or look at sport as an industry, as a business, and they invest, I would say, heavily in terms of the development of that. And coming from Trinidad, what definitely made me believe that I could even accomplish the amount that I've accomplished was support. And when I say support, it does not necessarily mean financial. Support from home. My mother, she was highly supportive up until my last, I would say, last swam or competed in 2017 Sisikan, and she has always been front and center with whatever needs to get done. However, I need to reach my practice sessions, and whatever is necessary in order for me to accomplish my goal. And from her, I am so grateful, so thankful for how she has shown me unwavering. And she always used to tell me, she always used to say, with God, anything is possible. So whenever I start to worry that I might not be able to make a national team, or due to finances and whatnot, she would always find a way and to get me on that team. She would be like, don't worry, just focus on your sport. And I also had support from my family, my grandparents, who have passed on as well. They were, it's funny because in the beginning, my grandparents find that we used to be too much into the sport. Like, I would be training, and even before I reached competitive, we'd be going to swimming every day from Sunday to Sunday. Not necessarily doing hard training because, like I said, this is pre-competitive level. And they would just be like, you're going too much in this sport, and too much swimming, and you need to rest and whatnot. And I'll be like, no, I want to go. I want to go by the pool. I want to go. It was fun, and even during the rain, if the weather could be, however, and I'll be like, we go in training, and to the point where my grandfather would have been dropping me at 4:45 in the morning to go into practice. My grandmother would be seeing about whatever meals whenever I came home, and she would have something prepared for before I go to school. And then the community. I'm from Mova, and I'm talking about the community with my persons in my area. They would they even give, and my sister used to swim as well, on the national team, and they gave nickname us the Mova Mermaids at one point. And in the church, they were always supportive whenever we did fundraisers to get us on the team. And I would say that how they say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it took a village, to get me where I'm at today. And it was a holistic involvement. And I would say that is what also kept me in the sport longer, just because I know I had these supporters in my corner. So, yeah.
Thank you. What do you think Trinidad and Tobago can do differently to support, young athletes or even older athletes from MOVA, or let's say underprivileged areas, or even athletes who have other challenges socially, financially? What do you think, and who do you think, can assist so that persons like yourself, who want to go to the Olympics in this day and age, or they want to achieve certain things in life, can get the support not just from their family and their community, but from corporate Trinidad or from other entities like that? What do you think can be done differently in 2022, moving forward?
Well, I've seen I would say the government, they've started where they've created resources, and the resources in that they had community pools. They've invested in community pools available for not just, because I know in the past the community pools were restricted to, they didn't want any competitive activities being there. It was just for community relations or events. So now that they have put that in place, and it seems like they want to start developing the sport, different sporting disciplines, whether it's swimming, if it's triathlon, if it's water polo, what the aquatic sporting that they have available. And that's I think that is where a merge needs, not merge, but a sit down needs to be had between the association, the government, and when I say government, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Sport, also tourism, because sports is a tourism. We have one of the best aquatic centers in the region. That how best can we utilize these sporting facilities to enhance the industry, and also how can we develop the citizens from as young as they are. And I think we should start from primary school level, get programs in those schools that we start athlete development, and not just specific to swimming, but we start as an athlete first. So you see how it is your athletic traits, and you start to develop the physical aspects of it, motor skills, and get those programs into the primary schools, into the community, into the secondary school. We start creating a pool of athletes that when it is they do decide, those kids, they do decide when they reach ages that they wish to pick a sport. It's not where now you have to start teaching a child how to be an athlete first, and then specifically to the sport, if it's swimming, running, track. No, because in this day and age, we are the tech age, and a lot of kids have highly focused in their devices. So to say that you're getting kids playing or climbing trees outside or running races in the roads and whatnot. You don't see that as often anymore. And I think that's where we need to, if it is, we have to, start developing these sports and getting it at a greater level. We should start from there.
Thank you. Open the floor back up to the audience for some questions.
Hi, my name is Colin, and my question is, has there been any regrets throughout your career? Like, have you ever wondered or wished that you had done something differently?
That's a hard one to say I have any regrets. I wouldn't say regrets, but I think if I was a little bit more knowledgeable of the sport of being an athlete per se, like in different areas where I might have fell short. For example, being being a coach now, I would say my nutrition needed a little bit more boosting up. That I would know what fuels me, as opposed to what is going to just give me a burst of energy and then I would crash afterwards. So being a little bit more educated in that aspect, in terms of how sleep affects me and affects my performance, I would have kind of taken that, be a bit more serious in that aspect of it, and also. I think that's the two areas where I kind of fell short in the sport itself and in my career.
Hi, I'm Christiane George. So my question is segues from what your response to this young man's question. It's I have two questions for you. One, if you could pull from your experience as an Olympian and now as your experience as a coach, and if you're willing to share your pre-race routine, not necessarily like your warm-up set, but what would you tell yourself or your athletes on how to mentally prepare for a race? What thoughts you have or what thoughts you use to push yourself through your race, because doing a 50-meter free, it's as soon as that beep goes off and you dive, it's real fast. So if you're willing to share those thoughts. And my second question is based on nutrition and diet. What would you normally have for like dinner or breakfast coming closer to your race? And so if your race was in the afternoon, what would you have had for breakfast? And if your race was in the morning, what would you have had for dinner? And if you had a light breakfast before?
Okay, so as a sprinter, I can give an example, which was in 2004, that where I qualified a second time for my first Olympics. My pre-race routine would definitely be visualization. I would find a quiet spot, get away from the noise, and what I would do something what we call tunnel vision. So I would close my eyes, and as a 50 freestyler, your legs will kind of, you start to feel lactic acid in your legs first. So I would put my legs up, I would close my eyes, and I would zone out everything that is around me, all the cheering and everything, and I would focus on every detail as much as possible in my race. From the time that I walk up to the block, when it is I'm on top of the block, and from when it is I hear the whistle blow, and also feeling myself entering into the water, and where I'm going to take my breaths, and also the strokes, and my finish, down to the point where I looked up at the scoreboard, and what time I wanted to see. And in 2004, I executed that to a T. And I would do that leading up to probably a month before my race. I did it to the point where I actually completely zoned out for my 50 freestyle, where I could tell you, I definitely do not remember how that race went, because I swam it over so many times in my mind. Like, when I touched the touchpad, I saw exactly the time that I wanted to see, what I was visualizing for, and that is exactly what appeared on the board. So the visualization is what I definitely do as a pre-race routine, zoning out all the noise around me. But not all the time that definitely works, because at times I get too tense. So it's I had to learn to balance how to relax as well before my race. So it had to do it at a period, especially on the day itself of the race. It had to do different aspects, if it's listening to music or sometimes talking to my teammates or whatnot, just to relax before it, because at times I know my friends or other swimmers, they wouldn't want to approach me when I'm behind the blocks, because I look so intimidating, and that's just because I'm totally focused on what I have to do. So that was one of my structures. And also I would go to an experience in 2008, where I came down to the very last opportunity I had to qualify for the Beijing Olympics. And leading up from January to June, I was only hitting one time the entire time. It was probably 8/10 of a second off of the qualifying time, and I kept hitting it even if it's a taper meet, I kept hitting that time. So if my time was 26.2, I kept hitting like 26.9 or 26.8 for some reason. And it's only down to when it is at a meet in Bahamas. That was the last qualifying opportunity on this hemisphere, because the only other opportunity I had to go to Korea or somewhere to qualify. And I did trials. I did about 5 different time trials before I actually made the qualifying time. And on my very first time trial, I missed the qualifying time by 100th of a second. So I was like, how am I good from this close? Like, what is this I did wrong? What I could do to change that time. And the other 4 times that I did the time trials and whatnot, I missed it by 0.2, 0.1, just different points. And that, when it is that kept going, and that is something that could really beat you down, and it's a 50, so 50 takes a lot of energy out of you. And it's only down to the very last race where I went back into that, what I did in 2004, and I went back into my visualization. I zoned out everything, and I even went as far as what was my thought process. So how was my mentality before I went up on the blocks in the qualifier when I hit that specific mark. And I dug so deep, like I zoned out as to what I want to see at the end of the race. And just like that, from the start to the finish, and I looked up at the scoreboard, it was the qualifying time, exactly. So that's, in terms of that, what method worked for me a lot. That visualization is very strong, highly recommended as a pre-race routine. And with regards to the second question, what it was again, sorry? Okay, so before races, when I was younger, I used to get nervous, so I never used to eat breakfast, and which was bad, because you need fuel. And I would swim not just the 50, but other races, other events, and by lunchtime, I'm starving. So I learned as I got older and as I got more experience, I would probably have a sandwich, where there's some type of protein, if it's eggs, or I might have peanut butter, and I would have maybe a fruit, a banana or an apple, depending on when my race was, and also how long before warm-up I would have. So I started learning how to, feed and nourish my body before I competed. And as well as for training, because training, I didn't think to have something at 4:45 in the morning, but you still need to nourish your body. In order for you to get out what you have to put in something for what you want to get out. So I would do that, and the night before dinner, for dinner, I would probably have pasta, so some carbs, but not too much, because I don't know, if it was a myth, as like you want to hold the same, you don't want to put on weight before, so you want to maintain what you have, and when you taper, when I tapered, so you're doing a lot less yardage and whatnot, so you would tend to like be wanting to eat, and your appetite would be growing, but you had to have that discipline that you would only eat what you need in order to nourish your body. And it's crazy because at Beijing Olympics, I sat down in the cafeteria and they had McDonald's there for the athletes, and because I was a major sponsor. And I saw, if you know Ryan Lochte, and he would sit down with burgers in front of him. And swimming, the competition hasn't started yet. But because the amount of events he swam and the events he swam, I'm using this, I could be wrong, but I think it was okay for what he was eating. Because if it was 5 events, he would have had to do that 3 times, because you have the prelims, the semifinals, and then the finals. So he would burn that off real quickly. But for me, my 1-lap event, that would definitely be a no-no. One, it would be, because I'm female, so easier to kind of put on weight. And 2, my event is very short, so you want to maintain the same weight you've had.
Hi, Sharntelle.
Hi.
My name is Tehili, and I have a question. Well, maybe 2 questions for you, but they might be kind of like the same. So my first question is, you're a coach now, and you talked about growing up in a humble community and how the community and your family was your major support system to get you where you are. What would you want to share, or what would you want to instill in your young athletes, one? And the second question I have for you is, what is the legacy you would like to leave behind? What would you like to be remembered for, not only in your community, but in the sporting community as well?
So for my athletes, I definitely try to instill not to limit yourself in terms of the things you can and cannot do. I think I want to give them and continue to feed that self-belief. And if you have, a goal, if you want to accomplish something, there's no goal too big for you to accomplish. And it could be to the point where not necessarily, you may not reach to the Olympics, but if you reach into a national team, you reach into a regional team, world championships team, or CARIFTA, or even you getting your best time at nationals locally, that's your goal, that's your target. Work towards it, and don't limit yourself as to you can't do or you can't accomplish that. And that's not just in swimming, I think that's in life, being applied to it. And not to, not to allow persons to, for lack of a better word, dictate what you can and cannot do or can and cannot accomplish. For my legacy, I would like to say that persons or athletes aspiring or humans, I think you can go against the norm. When I say that is like go against what is expected of you based on, sometimes they base it on where you're from, they base it on where you went to school, because I come from Mova, I still live in Mova. That would be stereotyped as a hotspot area. I went to school, Mocorapo Junior Sec, then I went to Southeast Port of Spain, and then I went on to university. And usually I would say the stigma with mover is not always positive. And I would say that I never allowed it to define who I was. And I never allowed where it is that my area, I would not say mover is a bad area. And I wouldn't allow where I could have easily, if it isn't to give into the negatives. And, as people expect, you come from a junior sec, nothing good will come out of that. And it's not reality. It's what you choose and who you choose to be that, defines who you are. And I want where persons can see that as happening and it's not something that is a shortfall.
Okay, Sharntelle, thank you for the questions. I have a couple more minutes. I was going to have a couple more questions. So, how did you balance? You spoke earlier about, being an athlete and training 7-8 hours a day, 6 times a week. How did you balance other aspects of life? Because very often you find, people drop out. A lot of athletes when they get older and they start to want to have social lives, or they want to start careers or school, or their family commitments. How did you? Something suffers, and very often it's the sport that suffers. We have a history of athletes in Trinidad being wonders when they're 14, 15, 16, but we have, a handful of Olympians in swimming, for example. How did you balance your athletic commitments with life,
I definitely give that to my mother. She, and I don't want you all to say anything in this aspect, but she made sure that I was culturally exposed and that it was not just swimming fully, because Mommy used to take us out from primary school sometimes and we would go to the beach. She would say, tell the teacher we have to go to the doctor, and we'd be heading to the beach, kind of just to break the monotony of the training and whatnot. And I also, I was part of the church group, the youth group. I was also part of police youth group. There was Lions Club, so we were part with the youth group, Leo's Club in that, and I kind of give that to the circle of friends that I also choose to have, who were also supportive. I went to, my mom made sure that, carnival time, you go watch mass, you go, sometimes they used to have what they call Monday night mass, so you go down St. James, and once or twice or so, went to Juve. And I was experiencing that even as the rigors of my training were very stressful. My mom would make sure that at certain aspects, certain points, that, it would take just a small break, and sometimes we would work it around the schedule. So if I have training at this time, I'd go to training, and then afterwards we'll have the extra activity, and we'll do there. And I've been to different weddings, if it's a Hindu wedding, Muslim weddings, and different aspects of, because Trinidad and Tobago is a rainbow culture society, so it have all the different races in this, and I was exposed to those different aspects of it. And I also I remember one time, this is bad, don't follow this example, but my mom allowed me to go clubbing Friday night, but I still got up in time for training, and I still made it to training. Don't ask me how training went, but I was there, and I finished the set. So it's all about balancing, and you're working with the schedule that you have, and that's why I say time management is a big thing. But it's not where you just zone into just doing that one thing. You have to also, life is going on, so you have to also take time to enjoy life. And as I say, enjoy, that's one thing I always have done. I've always enjoyed what I do. It has not been a point where it's no, I lied. It have been points where it has been daunting, and Michael, that's where I go back to, where you have the goals, and that kind of zones me back into what I'm doing here, and why am I doing it. So it's all about balancing your schedules, balancing your life, balancing all, and enjoying what you are doing, enjoying who you are, and also what you want to do and what you want to accomplish.
Perfect, thank you. One more question. Oh, I have a question from the audience.
Yeah. You're a two-time Olympian. Are there any books or podcasts that you would have used to help get you in a good frame of mind, or would have been like companion books on your journey as an Olympic swimmer that you would recommend?
There's one book in particular, I think, for 2008. I cannot remember the author right now, but I think there's one, The Mental Edge. That's a good one, because I will just let you know, when it is all else fails with your body, it's your mind that continues and carries you all the way to the end. So, yeah, you may not, and there have been a lot of times where I reach the practice and my body just does not agree with what I wanted to do. But when my mind switches on, and your mind is in control of, what you're doing. Your brain is in control of the muscles and to move it, and your nerves, but your mind is that continuing to let you, not let me allow my body to give up. And so I think that is the next aspect that I think I kind of missed, unless I had it naturally and didn't know. But mental development, having a strong mentality as well, is what's going to, I think, carry you across over the edge.
Thank you. I feel like we could have hundreds of questions, but we have time for one more. So my last question to you, Sharntelle, is what is your most memorable experience being an athlete, and why?
That would be 2008 Olympics. Because I went to college from 2005 to 2010, because I took a gap year, and that's when I was training for the 2008 Olympics, and I was in Florida, Coral Springs, under Coach Mike Loberg. He's passed on now. The environment and the atmosphere there was incredible, because there were, how I should see, at that 2008 Olympics, he had 8 Olympians from different, 8 Olympians qualify from Germany, from Kazakhstan, from Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago, and one in the US. And we were all training towards that goal, and which was the 2008 Olympics. And that was where, as I said, I was trying to make the cut, and down to the wire, to the very end, is when I finally made the time. But it wasn't the result that was memorable. It was the journey towards it. So in terms of the struggles and the hurdles, as well as wanting to give up, but because of the environment there, giving up was never an option. And you also had the teammates encouraging you when it is you had the low moments, and you will have low moments because you are human. And it's when they encourage you and you see them, they're training as well, and they have their moments. And I'm talking about Olympic gold medalists, world record holders, and you're seeing them having I was able to witness when they have their low moments and how it is they got over that. And it was because of, encouraging, motivation, and demonstrating each day that this is the goal that we are aiming for, and everybody's here for that goal.
Oh, perfect. Any parting words, before we say goodbye to everybody this morning?
I just want to definitely thank you for having me here. This was, I thought like I could, I probably would have survived a 50 race rather than doing this. Talking here, but it was very comfortable. And I thank everyone for their questions, and I'm available if you have any more and you wanted to shoot me any questions, I don't bite, especially on a Saturday, so you're free to shoot your questions. Just kidding. And that I wanted to let the up-and-coming swimmers out there know that, not to ever limit yourself and trust in what or who you want to be or who you want to become, and allow the sport to, give you so many things, so many opportunities, and be able for you to be exposed to, how I should say, expose and open your mind as to not allow the sport to give you that opportunity to get out there, not just stay within, how I should say, the confinements of where you're from, where you are, but the sport, it can give you, and any sport as a matter of fact, it can open up a lot of doorways for you to experience. And I would say not to limit yourself in it, and don't give up. Don't give up, for sure.
Well, thank you very much, Sharntelle. It was truly a pleasure. We'll be posting this interview on our YouTube channel, so please feel free to check it out, shoot some questions on, and I look forward to many more of these opportunities moving forward as we seek to try to mentor the youth, the middle-aged, the old, and try to really put sport and the benefits that sport has to the wider community, both locally, regionally, internationally, on the front burner once again as we move forward post-pandemic. So thank you, Sharntelle.
Thank you, Sivi.
Thank you.